What's happening, Mike?
What's going on?
What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about business outcomes and ROI of websites.
So business outcomes and ROI, meaning to say, like, what? Why are you building the website? Why are you doing this?
Where do you want to start?
You tell me.
Let's start with conversion insights. Understanding what you're going to do with the website. Someone is interested in getting a new website. They know they need one for their business. They know what they have is not working. Where do they start rather than just hoping that they're going to find someone to give them the perfect website?
It's a hard question. There's so many people selling design services of differing quality and price.
Let's get past the design, though.
Okay.
Let's say you find someone whose vision aligns. You think that they can design something that would match what you envision to represent your brand. Let me start with my take on it. I think you should sort of reverse engineer the process to understand what you're looking to accomplish. Are you looking for someone to come to your website, fill out a form? Are you looking them to complete a purchase? Are you looking for them to pick up the phone and call? I think understanding one or two tracks that your ideal customer would follow would be a good place to understand on what the goal of the website is to what you need to have on it in order to it function, and how the flows lay out, and what you need out of your website on how it's going to deliver ROI to a business.
Look, I think design is so subjective, and what I think is great, someone else might not think is great. But assuming that you have a competent designer, and assuming that you know the goal, which in our case is to prove that we've done like work for you, the client, look at our portfolio, and allow us to make it easy to get on a call with us, I think that's great. We've developed landing pages for specific traffic. Look, this matters when you're spending money on the website. Two things: when you have organic traffic already of some significance, or when you're when you're spending money on paid media and there's a required result of the money that you're spending.
Well, what happens if you're neither? What happens if you're starting a business, or maybe you just haven't spent money on paid media, but you still know you need a different website? You've had the same website for the last 10 years. You see what your competitors
then you're not a
have.
startup. I mean,
Okay, fine. You're not a startup, but let's say you have a business, or
if you have a business and the website is stodgy and old and nobody cares, and you have no team and no partnership and no nothing, you need to find a new team. That's it. And that team should, at the very basis, make you look good, right? Again, it's subjective, but I think that generally one can agree that there's an improvement in look and feel. I said it previously. There's a tie-in between look and feel and client experience, in my view, and their follow through of actually working with you. But again, if the website sucks and all the thing and nobody's really paying attention, the whole thing just stinks of not caring, right? And maybe not caring, or just not having the right people that are looking at the right things. And if you have a business and you're spending any kind of money, or you care about the numbers, listen, we spend significant ad dollars ourselves to generate inquiries for Sage. We generate significant leads in e-commerce business for clients of ours where we're managing spend. Like, the numbers really matter. If I send 1,000 people to our website and I have a incremental increase in conversion based on an obvious improvement that I have made, there is a tangible ROI on that. I'm getting more leads for less money, right?
Sure. I think it's a little different for us because while we're a digital business and we have a physical office, people are coming to us for a digital need. But we have a relatively prominent attorney client. They've been around for many years. Their website has been neglected for many years. Now that there's some new blood in there, they're looking to revamp it.
Ah, yes, okay. I was
get it
thinking,
up.
Which one are you talking about? Now
So they've
I
had the
understand.
website for a while. It's obviously not up to par with other competitors.
Of course not.
My opinion is you start with what's the desired outcome. They're looking to inform potential clients.
Look, those guys are rock stars that don't need a website in order to, they're getting hired because of who they are, right?
For the way it's been.
For the way it's been. But should they onboard one or two new clients a year because of what we've done?
But when one of the partners leave, what's going to allow the business to sustain?
That's a good point.
They need that digital footprint. And if that one partner isn't able to continue to bring in that business in the future,
it's a good point.
The marketing is going to have new traffic come to the website to turn into business.
It's a good point.
And I think it's important that the steps that they went through with us to understand what's the end goal and how do we get there
Look, it's always like, hey, show us examples of sites that you admire, not for copying, stealing from, but understanding like what is good to you, because good is different to everybody. And going to Figma and taking the time. We don't cut corners here. That's the whole point. We're doing it custom. We're following the process, and we're not getting too far down the line without approval from our clients to know that we're trending in the right direction. And we're also not yes people. I'm not going to say to my client, yes, no problem. I will do something that I absolutely disagree with without at least bringing it to your attention and telling you that I don't like it, because we have lots of experience, and you should probably lean on the people that have experience in order to make the decisions that could negatively affect the outcome of the project. You've hired us because you think we have the ability to see it to the end. Please don't hinder our ability to do so, right?
Let's talk about the end. The website, while there will be a finish point to say we're happy with the design, we're ready to build, site gets built, the sites need continuous improvement over time. That way it stays current.
It sounds like a sales pitch for Sage Digital Agency, right? Hey, you need to constantly update it, but that's not true.
Anyone who has a business can see.
Yeah.
I mean, almost every client that I speak with, they talk at some point about what their competitors are doing. And they're on top of it. They're following other businesses that are competing for the same clients as them. And they know, oh, this company is running X promotion. This company is now offering this. This company has this feature.
And it doesn't feel good to know that the competitor is paying more attention than you are and coming up with novel ideas that maybe you didn't. Or again, you're stuck with foundational problems and can't even make minor changes. You don't have the right team. It always comes back to that. So I agree. Yes, there's an investment in the continued growth, et cetera. Yes.
And what does something like that typically look like for people after the site gets built?
I often like to say that I want to have the most minimal engagement with my clients, that they love me forever. Maybe that means that I'm available when you need me and we're hosting and managing the health and wellness of the website into the future. Maybe that's it. That's like the absolute baseline. Maybe it's spending a few hours a month on growth and thinking. Maybe it's some digital kind of strategy / consulting in your department and saying, here's some things that we probably should be thinking about doing, or here's what we've had experience with successfully in the past that we could potentially emulate with you. There's lots to do. There's come have conversations in here about your business and what you're doing, and there's a whole other conversation about that. There's so much that could be done in order to improve visibility of the website.
And what about ongoing updates to the website?
You mean like costs associated?
Or
no,
what is just the process, the iteration. What happens for someone who maybe this is the first time they're doing a website redesign. Maybe they're buying a website for the first time.
Yeah.
They get, here's my 5, 10, 20, however many pages that they need for their business. The website gets live. How do they know what to do next?
I think the relationship with the right vendor is probably a good idea, right? Someone that is going to tell it to you straight, is not going to sales pitch you on everything, right? Can't stand that I can't stand that when it's always, what can I sell to this person? It's like, no, look, we have the following 5 or 6 things that we do, and we believe in them. We do them for ourselves. That's why we do it. We're screaming from the rooftops that you should be doing it as well. And I just really like the consultation / road mapping that you do for many of our clients, that even if they don't immediately implement them, like, let's not veer off course and waste time, energy, money on things that have a very high likelihood of not going anywhere.
Look, my take is that for most clients, you get a website, whether it's a new one or a redesign or a refresh to your existing website, you get the MVP, the minimum viable product, live.
And that doesn't mean crap, by the way.
No. What
that means, this is the best representation that we think that we can make of who you are and where you're going and where you're going to be in 6 months from now.
Correct. You get it for what's working right now.
Yeah.
And the important part is to have the proper data tracking and analytics to understand what's happening on that website, which at that point you can use those data points to plan the future so you're not going into it blindly.
Yeah.
And you can take the actions and you can take the heat maps and see what people are interacting with. You build out this beautiful homepage, you find out, only 10% of the people are scrolling more than 20% of the way down. Doesn't matter what you have on the bottom 80% of the website, the web page, no one's looking at it.
I agree.
Being able to iterate from there.
Look, you said, like, what does one do? Like, first and foremost, I'll just say that as we continue to do what we do and refine ourselves, it's always a kind of an improvement process as well. We're not drastically changing who we are, but we're always working on what we do and how we do it, our process, et cetera.
Even testing the call to action.
Yes, but what I'm even like before all of that, it's like if you have a business or you're starting a business that you believe in and it's funded and you're going somewhere, this isn't like pie in the sky, something else, right? You need a good outcome, right? You say like, you need to make sure you're investing in the right thing. And the money part of it is important, but it's not the whole thing. I've said it so many times. If somebody says, hey, I'll do a website for $3,000, let's just say our quote was $5,000, just as an example. Are you really saving $2,000?
Only if you're getting comparable items.
Well, I was going to say, is it an apples to apples comparison? Again, we're not the only vendor. We're not the only qualified. There's many talented people in the world, but there's also so many wrong choices to make in the digital marketing, web design space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many. And making sure, I think, that you align with the person who is the person that you're speaking to? First of all, is this a salesperson? Is this some just salesman that you never talk to that isn't actually implementing, isn't actually doing the work? That's important. Who are the teammates of which you're going to be working with in this project? These are all like very important. And
so many people are selling it and then trying to outsource it later.
Yes. Yes. It's just mind-boggling. They're
trying to figure it out as they go. They don't have,
you would be shocked. Like, look, some of my best clients, paid media buyers, marketing companies, I use that term loosely, like lots of people sell services that they then have to go worry and think, where am I going to fulfill this, right?
Right.
Maybe they don't have the massive expenses associated with having the right team surrounded by you, right? And we're blessed to have that. And we're growing. And I think that those are just critical. Who is the team? Who are you working with? Is this an outsourced group that is working from their mom's basement and sending deals to whoever is available and whatever and hasn't done? I've done 400 projects, I'm just guessing, with my head of design, I think. I built hundreds of websites with a couple of key developer teammates of ours. This isn't like we're just doing this for the first time. And I've said it so many times before, I love this line. It's like Hormozy said that it's like when you're really good at something, you don't have to talk too much about it. Oh, you need it. Okay, we're doing this. This is a style. Yeah, done. Thanks. Okay, see you tomorrow, right?
Because they're all aligned.
I'm just saying that's the relationship that I have with teammates of mine because we just keep doing the work together. This is full time is an understatement. Okay, my entire professional career, and it bleeds very much into my personal life also, is consumed by this. And I think you want to work with people that have that kind of an attitude. I keep saying to my clients, you have a very low risk of a negative outcome with me because I really care about what I'm doing. And when the owner says that to you and will not allow subpar garbage to be happening and will lose money if necessary in order to see things through the end, these are all, in my view, very important key things that maybe the person for a couple $1,000s less doesn't have those same standards. I can't speak for
maybe they get halfway done, then they come back with another invoice.
As I always say, very easy to start projects, not so easy to finish projects.
That's right.
We launched something like 25 projects in the last 60 days. I'm very proud of it. I'm surprised by that. I am. If you had asked me, list the 25 of them right now, I couldn't. I can read it from the sheet, but that's impressive to me. I'm really amazed by that. So we're actually finishing the projects that we're starting, and we consistently have dozens of projects in the queue. Am I right?
Yeah.
And hundreds of clients in managed services. So you said, again, coming back to the ROI and the business reason, find the right teams and always know the why. Why am I making this website? Because you can make websites cheaper than coming to Sage Digital Agency. You can go to the guy that's offering the templated Wix. Here's your $847. It's going to be done in 10 days. Well, what is this person doing? He's taking the template, he's changing the color, he's putting your logo, he's copying, pasting text that he got from ChatGPT or from you, and he's giving you the website. Will it look pretty? Maybe.
Look, if you're selling cookies out of your house, that's probably fine.
We are not your vendor. With all due respect, we cannot help everybody. If you have a business outcome, if you're spending money to market the business, there's a reason to talk to us. If you have a product Talked to a guy here. I said, how much is a customer worth you? He started off by saying, we want to sell merchandise on an e-commerce store. I'm like, okay. That's how I felt in the beginning. And then I got into it. I said, well, what is the business? He goes, oh, we manufacture full-blown custom hot rods from A to Z. We create custom parts for this. I said, how much is a build? He goes, 300,000. I said, okay. And I said, how much is a customer worth? What's the margin? Oh, we make like 40%. I said, sir, you have a real business. I get it. You're making 120,000 on a build, and you're doing a couple of these at a time? Yeah. And he goes to me, someone offered me a website for $900. I said, sir, that doesn't make any sense. It would be like me saying that your car of 300,000 I want to buy for 25 grand. It doesn't make any sense. My fee is going to be like 10 times that in order to do this. It doesn't make any sense with the time that's involved. Unless I'm a $5 an hour person, then it makes sense. So find the right people, ask the right questions. I generally know in 5 minutes if someone is the right fit, and I'm always willing to have conversations and give advice and even say, hey, I'm not the right vendor. I know the right, this is what I would do if I was you.
Look, these items I think are all focused around people trying to grow their business. So I want to transition into two other related topics for business growth. Using content as fuel to grow your business.
Yes.
You have your website, you're putting up a new website, you're trying to do some marketing, whether it's digital, online, offline, well, whatever it may be. To grow your business, how are people best utilizing content today to grow their business? And well, my part on that is to be able to repurpose content, whether you're coming into our studio or you're creating content at your office or graphics or whatever it might be used. But how are people utilizing that in the best way possible to have consistent messaging across their website, across their social channels, ultimately to grow their business?
You're going to laugh at me, but the first thing that comes to my mind, it's hard, right? It's hard. A couple years ago, prior to the space we're sitting in right now and prior to all these things, I myself had very little quote unquote content, real stuff about me. And if I could say anything to any business owner that's listening to this, like the real value is you will replicate yourself infinitely by creating content on video about the things in which you have expertise, because that stuff can be repurposed in the following ways. Number one, I'm not asking you to spend 4 days a month in the office with us. It's not going to happen. You're going to come here for 90 minutes and you're going to execute content and you're going to look good, sound good, feel good, and leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to strategize in advance. You're going to come here and say, oh, what are we going to talk about? No. There's a plan. You're going to be here for 90 minutes. Here's the 3 segments. We're going to literally have 3 full-blown YouTube videos of we're memorializing your opinion on a certain subject in that time.
That's the long form.
That's the long form. We then listen, outline the best possible statements that were made, and we can create at least a dozen shorts from every one of those episodes. If my math is correct, that's 35, 40 pieces of content that could then be utilized from one 90-minute session if we do our job right. And again, I'm not talking about using AI tools in order to input and ingest. I'm talking about real shorts that are really great, done by a human being, team member of ours. That can be then posted to socials organically. I believe that there's a direct correlation between activity on social and organic rankings. I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe in that. Said in a different way, I've seen organic growth for Sage by doing nothing much different to the website from a content perspective than posting to socials. And next part, we then have full YouTube episodes in which we can then transcribe and then turn into blog content for the website, optimized not only for Google search, but also the LLMs, of which I am very keen on. Extremely.
Interesting choice of words.
Okay. Very, 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 very interested in that point. So we can then have relevant blog posts that we badly want these language models to, let's say, create us as a source and list. I can tell you right now, hundreds of people a month are being found or finding Sage by prompting these sources, and I'm very proud of that. And we are winning real clients
That's right.
that are being recommended by ChatGPT. Mind blowing. I almost can't believe it, right?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, it sounds complicated.
It is
It's
complicated.
tough to be able to rank for them, but it's really no different than showing up on Google.
No, I'm sorry. What I meant by like it's difficult, like this is difficult. Like we spent a lot of time and energy and money, frankly, in order to put this together. But the process for a business owner that wants to like do something different,
It's a lot, and they need to start somewhere. It doesn't really matter where, but somewhere.
What I mean is that like we'll do it for you. Just come here and like let us walk down the road with you, and we can really do some good. It's again, just real quick, full blown few YouTube episodes monthly about a subject matter that's important to you, your customer base. Short form content for social, organic, and I didn't mention it, paid. Most importantly, okay. Why am I doing all this stuff? I'm not going to be famous on YouTube, more than likely, right? If that happens, great, I'll take it. But I need media in order to show every single person that came to the website primarily from Google Ads. You agree?
Yeah.
I want to make sure that a customer with a real business that has a desire to hire professionals sees trust, authority, etc., that I can speak on topics that are relevant to what it is that we do. And it, I think the days of like nameless, faceless organization is over. Like if I had a choice to work with somebody that is obviously an owner or an executive of the company and puts themselves forward and talks about the things or like versus some completely nameless, no team members on the site, no nothing. I don't know. I think that's a no-brainer.
Look, people know how to use the internet now. And
I barely know how to use the internet.
And they know how to look it up. That's why the nameless doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
But that's a separate issue.
Lots can happen from content. I believe so strongly in the value of putting yourself forward. Now, I understand. I'm thinking some people listening to this are going to say, I'm not comfortable getting in front of a camera.
I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound.
Listen, I'm 5'9", bald,
say.
and I have rosacea. Okay, if I can do it, you can do it. But all jokes aside.
What's wrong with being bald?
All jokes aside, it doesn't have to be a 30-minute, no pause, back and forth. It could be, let me ask you or let your interviewer ask you a certain question and just answer it to the best of your ability. I would say the more planning you do in advance, the more you can have a positive outcome. I've seen people successful in all kinds of different things, coming here, having conversations, and it turning into really great content that, frankly, I just think is necessary these days.
I think it's so important because it can be repurposed. Mm-hmm. You're getting the content, the long form for YouTube. You're getting the short clips, the short edits for the reels, for YouTube, for Facebook, for
paid
Instagram.
And organic. Yeah.
Paid and organic. You're getting the value out of being able to have that content turned into your blog articles.
Yeah, you can use it for sales enablement. Hey, you want to know this question that I answer all day long on my sales calls? Well, I already had a conversation about it. Please listen to this.
Feed it into your email systems, your CRMs, your drip campaigns, and
give it to your paid media buyers. Make sure they're seeing this stuff.
You're getting the same content repurposed to people depending on the channel or medium that they want and are most comfortable viewing the content through. And it's going to have consistency to represent the brand as it's getting distributed because they're seeing the same thing in multiple different places, slightly different.
It sounds great. What else can I say?
I don't know. There's nothing else to say.
So we started the conversation by talking about the business outcomes and the ROI, how to know what are the questions you're asking, know your why, what are you trying to get out of it? We talked about conversion rate optimization, the importance of again, a little percentage point difference of improved conversions on my site with my spend could have a real measurable result on the business.
Yeah, look, the final part I want to touch on was how do you measure that ROI? And I think that's the important part, at least for this segment, is here's all the channels or avenues that we can take to help grow and explore other opportunities within the digital space. And here's what you can do with your website. Here's how it can turn into marketing efforts or content. But how do you measure the ROI? What do most businesses need to consider when thinking of an ROI use case? I want a new website. How do I justify that to X stakeholders or whatever the expense is going to be?
It's a great question. How do I justify spending $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 up front on a project that needs to happen? And how do I then justify retaining an agency at let's say a few $1,000s a month as a baseline to help direct us, at the very least, to direct it, to own some channels and to direct some of the marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because those are absolute baselines. I mean, we just can't be involved otherwise.
And there's costs associated.
Not even to mention the ad spend. Generally, just I think you'd agree, we need to see a couple $100s a day in ad spend in order for it to make sense for there to be an ongoing engagement. Do you agree with that?
Of course.
Okay. Now, I just want to say that because I think that's important, because I hear lots of, like, I talked to someone earlier today and I said, how much they said, oh, we're having a problem with Google Ads. And how much are you spending? $3 a day. I said, were you joking?
Of course you're having a problem.
No, I was just like, what are you joking? Like, just turn it off. What are you talking about?
You're going to get 1 click a day.
Not
even.
I'm just saying that businesses that have real needs are spending money on channels and they demand a result.
In what ways can they look at an ROI?
I was going to say they need somebody with extreme experience in analysis of the data that can, first of all, do the tracking up front to ensure it's done right. How many times do we get involved in situations where we're just looking at something and someone's spending, you know who I'm talking about, $40,000 a month on Meta, doesn't have basic setup done on the site? Can you explain that to me? What is that? Why is that? Because they have the wrong vendor and they don't have the skill set themselves in order to ask the right questions. And if they would have simply engaged, for example, you for a handful of hours of consulting, you could have even we don't even have to be the vendor doing it. Just take us up on our consulting and make sure that we know that it's done correctly from the beginning. You'll save countless dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Countless. Our fee will be, a penny comparison. So
for businesses that say, hey, look, I need a new website, 10 pages, whatever it's going to be, how do I justify that ROI?
you're going to justify it by having an improved look and feel that is hard not to notice, right?
They can look at performance metrics, right?
You can look at performance.
Page speed.
Of course. Yeah. Well, I'm
SEO
talking from a
rankings.
design perspective, from a
Sure.
a functionality perspective. It is our goal to achieve, great scores in these tools that we use in order to optimize. Yes, of course.
What other ROI metrics can be looked at? Increase in
Form
organic
submissions,
rankings,
increase in organic rankings,
increase
quality
form
leads coming through.
submissions.
Yeah. I think I just keep harping on this. It's all well and good, but if you got no fuel, if you've got no gas going to the car, it just is less important. I'm not saying it's not important, but when you start the marketing, when you're doing marketing and other things, you're going in meeting, whatever, you go speaking at conventions, whatever, you're going into the community and doing non-digital efforts, it's still important. You're sending people to the website.
I think companies that have digital presence, they obviously understand the value of investing ongoing into their digital presence. So they have like certain metrics that they're able to look at when considering a redesign, or what was the actual benefit of it. Do people stay on the page longer? Are you
Yep.
getting form submissions with less clicks? Because all of it's tracked.
Mm-hmm.
Could
be tracked.
Could be tracked. Bounce rate. I mean, there's a number of things, and some metrics are vanity metrics to let you know reach. Others are very meaningful. If you find that 50% of people who go to your service page leave after 5 seconds, what does that say? To me, it says either you have the wrong content or it's the wrong person coming to your website.
Mhm.
Because if it's the right person who's qualified, who's looking for your service, and they still leave, that means the content's not resonating properly. And that needs to be fixed immediately.
I would say, just in general statement, that we find ourselves doing more transformational kind of reimagining something than a 10% improvement change, right? This is a hideous website that anyone can understand has been a mistake for the
Mhm.
business, and it needs to be changed, right? So I find myself doing that often. And I think once we fix the foundation, then we can get into the reporting, and then we get into the consulting analysis stuff that any business could benefit from. And I just one more time, when money is being spent, it's that much more important, right? In
Mhm.
order to make sure you know the numbers, know the metrics that are important to you. And they're different to different people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just need to know what it is.
Each business has their own
possible.
KPIs.
Yeah.
What's important to them.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's, awareness and branding. Other times it's they need to correlate X dollars to X return.
Agreed on all points. So what does somebody looking for a site do besides calling us? That's it.
That's it.
Look, I'd love the opportunity to talk to anybody that's in the I don't know, investigation stage of looking for the right vendor, right? It's like a marriage. There's so much energy. This isn't a 5 or 10 hour project. These things are huge undertakings of time, energy, etc., resources, and the relationship can span on for many, 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 many years if done right.
I think a lot of it is the personality fit. You either have it or you don't.
Yep.
And if the vendor that someone's evaluating doesn't have values or uh, business alignment or business understanding that's compatible, it's gonna make it very difficult to get to that end goal where you have what you're looking for.
Look, I have to tell one story. I can't help myself. Met two serious professionals. I won't even say what industry. Very, very impressive people. Came in, we had a great meeting, gave them a price. We agreed on a certain site map. You're a startup. You don't need a massive site. 10 pages, enough. 12, whatever it is. Okay? I sent them a message a few days later. Hey, I want to work with you guys. You're rock stars. Like, what do we need to do here? What's the holdup? They said, hey, we got 2 other quotes from local companies. I'm not going to name the names. One was 25 pages at this price. One was 20 pages at that price. Can you match it? So I have to tell you, I felt tense right away when I got that. But I said, let me do a little checking. So first of all, one of the things I said, by the way, was, why has the sitemap drastically changed from the conversation we had? Why are we talking about a 25-page site? You don't need that. That's not what we discussed, nor do I see the reason for that, right? So what's the price matter? And when they're talking about something that's like double in scope of work. Now, my price was significantly higher if you take into account if you double the page count, right? Because I was essentially in the same scope, but for half the amount of pages. And that's my general pricing. Anyone can see it on the website. I looked at the website of these 2 companies. They're local. I'm sorry. Okay? I just got to be very direct here, man. A blind person could see that there is no comparison in look and feel. I said to them, would you be happy
Your website
if your
looked like
website
theirs?
looked like theirs? I suspect the answer is no. There is no comparison. I don't have the best website in the world, okay? I'm not the best thing that ever was, but we care, and we're spending a lot of money and resources in order to do the things the correct way. But with all due respect, there is no comparison. What does one do? I don't know. Like, it will be, by the way, the last time I went on in a podcast conversation about how somebody, what I thought was wrong with the thinking of that person, well, guess what? They're my client now. Okay. So it took a while, but they're our client and we're going to do great work together. But I'm just thinking about these 2 gentlemen who I really liked and just thinking, what does the price matter if the outcome is going to be shit? Okay. What does it matter? Who cares if they're offering you double the amount of pages? It's to use a nice word that I like very much, it's dreck. What does it matter? So what do you say to that?
It's not an apples to apples comparison.
Of course it's not.
I mean,
Of course it's not.
I don't know how you can get to that point down the road of evaluating vendors. If the vendor's website, you would assume that it's the best representation of them.
They're not going to do better on yours than they did on theirs.
Look, correct. I mean, I've seen it a number of times, not only with the website design agencies, get the SEO professionals.
Oh, don't even get me
who
started
don't rank
here.
for anything.
Don't even get me started with this. I'm going to start ranting
you
about
have
this.
paid search companies that don't have tracking on their website.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if that's our position, we're using the website to put it our best face forward for us.
Yeah.
You would hope that whatever vendor is having the same for them. I don't know how you can justify doing a service that you're not preaching for yourself, but or for others.
Again,
but
I know this may even like come out like, I don't want this to come across in the wrong way, some arrogant or whatever. It's not. I'm just, there's no comparison. So I said, I think the right thing. I said, listen, I'm happy to discuss price and terms with you when you've chosen me as when I'm your vendor of choice. Happy to do it. We may agree, we may not agree, but I'm not going to randomly change drastically pricing against a non-equivalent alternative. And I really hope they don't go for that that option, frankly. But you can't do everything for all people. I can just do the best that I can. You know? Any final thoughts? Do you agree with what I just said?
I agree with everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know
just
what?
makes
You know,
sense.
the only time you actually agree with me is when we're doing podcast conversations. Every other time, you never agree with me on any subject. I'm joking. Thank you for the time.